in Queensland, Sydney. And today, Simone is kindly offering her time to have a chat with me. And I'm so excited about this one because Simone has an amazing story, has an amazing journey to share with us. And just as always, it's just me being super nosy, and I just can't wait to hang out with you for 45 minutes. So thank you very much, Simone, for being on the Art of Service live stream. And I did grab your LinkedIn like bio, because you're the CEO of Mondo Search. You're the founder of the Mentor Evolution and the founder of the Women Resilience Center. And your biggest mission is to finding great leaders, to inspire and match them with mentors to build better organizations and a better planet. Now, that's your official LinkedIn bio. But if you meet new people, how do you introduce yourself? Who is Simone?
I often find in executive search, the first question I ask is about tell me about your childhood. Because I always think that's tells me immediately a little bit about a person. And certainly the experiences they've had as a child. We know that the first 7 years particularly are so impactful on a person's opinion of themselves.
Yeah. So tell me about your childhood.
Well, I'm grateful I went through it. I had a really tough childhood, but I didn't realize it. Obviously you don't realize it until you grow up a little bit more and realize that it's not okay. Some of the things that as an adult, you look back and go, that's not okay. And I think it's particularly when you've had your own children and you see kind of the upbringing I look at the upbringing I had. I was a love child born out of marriage. My two parents were very young, 19. And my father, I was the apple of his eye when I was born, because the father-daughter thing. And we were very, very close. But he left when I was about 8. And I had two younger, beautiful brothers. But my mum pretty much raised us, but we moved around a lot. We were in the country, Walgett. I was born in Armidale, moved to Blaney. Eventually we moved to Sydney, and that period of time, we didn't take relatives with us. So we moved to Sydney not knowing a soul. My mum wasn't a type of person that knew how to connect with community. So I lived quite an isolated life, and lots of dysfunction. My father moved up to far north Queensland and was very involved in Indigenous communities. And I sort of witnessed things I shouldn't have witnessed as a little kid, and kind of didn't have a childhood. I was like always the little grown-up, serious eldest child. In fact, I look at that, feel absolutely fabulous, that girl in the middle, the little serious Sam, that was me. I was like, Dad, stop smoking drugs. And, it was kind of, that was my my upbringing. Yes, but what out of it I reflect on was that I gained some great skills through all of that. Firstly, I can suss out a room really quickly. I feel I can suss out human beings quite quickly because I was forced to as a child. I also was forced to find mentors because I didn't have any around me. So it became babysitters, and had a stack of part-time jobs because I never wanted to be in the same poverty that my mother was in. So I found a lot of bosses. An Italian restaurant owner, he always took me under his wing and taught me. And I realized naturally I gravitated to find people older, wiser, people that could kind of give me knowledge, help me along the way. So that was a skill I learned as a little kid, and it served me in my life today, and it served me in running my executive search business.
Yeah. Especially that, like, really quickly assessing people and figuring out who is who in a room. I suppose that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So how was your experience? Because you said you moved from Armidale. I read somewhere that you grew up on a sheep farm. So how was that move from rural New South Wales into Sydney? How has that shaped you as
Yeah.
your values, what's
Oh,
important
I
to you.
think it's gold. I actually was up on a farm last weekend, and I listened to one of the girls talk about, little girls, how she learned to ride a motorbike at 11 and 12 and drive a car on the farm. And I think it was a fantastic opportunity for me, because
Mm,
you just become, just more, I don't know, calm about the
mm,
planet, because you can manage being out on a farm. My grandfather had a big merino farm, and so we would spend a lot of time there on holiday breaks, because my mum worked full time, so we would always be on the farm a lot working.
yeah.
And it teaches you work ethic,
Mm,
and just appreciation for this, for the planet,
mm,
the way the moon impacts the growth of vegetables, and how all of those things. You just don't get that kind of understanding when you
yeah.
grow up your entire life in a city.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The reason why I picked up on that is, in employing people. If I have a series of resumes and I see one resume of a person that grew up on a farm, I invite that person for an interview.
Yeah.
And it could totally be my bias, but I'm
Yeah.
like, I have this thing, people that grow up on farms, or are in that sort of hands-on environment, like, no excuses, you just do it. You have to look after the animals, whether it rains or whether it's hot, or it's like, there's no excuses. Things are important, things have to be done, they have to
Yeah.
get done, and it's not always about you, it's about the greater good of the family, the animals, the farm, but maybe that's my prejudice. I don't know. You are an
Yeah.
experienced search person. How
Yeah.
wrong am I?
Yeah, no, I think it's a healthy prejudice. What do they call that? The halo effect. I watch that a lot in my interviews. I can sometimes just sit there and really, really rate someone, and I'm thinking, I don't know why I rate them so much, because they haven't
Mm,
really told me much, but I'm already liking them. And that's called the halo effect. They say if you line up 10 people along like a wall, there'll be one you quite like for no reason at all, and another that you can't stand. Usually it's
yeah.
like someone you don't like. And that's called the repression effect. And they remind you, they trigger you of someone. It
Mm,
might be a terrible teacher, or a nasty relative, and so it's really important in hiring. I know
mm,
we're talking to a lot of CEOs and owners of business, that you're aware of those two effects,
yeah.
repression and halo. I often, when I've got the halo, I step out and grab another one of my consultants and just say, I'm experiencing the halo. Just check if I'm got the same feeling of, see if you've got the same opinion of this
Yeah,
person.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Because I assume that it's so important to be unbiased and to be really clear. Because what you really like may not be what's suitable for the customer, for the client, for the organization you hire for. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's so often, well, it's not so often, but it is frustrating when you think you can see someone and the skill in them, and the client can't,
mm,
and yeah, that's frustrating sometimes. I call it the Shrek effect, where everybody adores Shrek, right? But he looks wrong, but he is so beautifully
mm,
right,
yeah,
and you just can't express that, or you can't
yeah.
get the client to see it, or
But
maybe
we all want Prince Charming on the white horse.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. I've been sad about some Shreks that I've probably not hired even in my own business, and I've thought
Mm,
back and thought, you know what, I really probably should have given that person a go, because I
yeah,
see them grow and do really well. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So what's your superpower as an executive search person?
yeah, right. Well, I think I've already touched on it. I think my superpower is building intimacy really with
Mm,
speed. Um, I think, what do they say? The words of intimacy, into you, see me. And
mm,
I think I'm fairly transparent and share a little bit about myself. And through that, people open up,
mm,
and, and making people feel safe is number one. And I
yeah,
suppose because I sat as a child in a lot of times in unsafe, really unsafe experiences and places. And I get teary about that. But when I can make a candidate feel safe and feel that they can trust me,
mm,
then there's that intimacy. So I think
yeah.
that's my weapon. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So going back, because that is your weapon. You are so good at that, and I've experienced it myself. But that's not the reason why you became a HR search executive expert.
No, no.
So what's the journey like? The 8-year-old Simone did
Yeah,
not wake up one day and go like, oh, my father left, I'm going to start my own business in search executive.
yeah, yeah. Isn't it funny how you end up doing something you're passionate about, but there's
Mm,
always a lot of kind of little steps and pathways to where you end up. Um, I was really fortunate because, firstly, my career, I did a degree in, I did a Bachelor of Arts, majored in psychology, social policy, and administration. With a skew in economics, and then I went and completed a human resource degree, so a postgrad. So I did want to do something with people. I knew that. But at the time, when I started my career, I couldn't find a role that was right. So I actually started. In fact, I think this is really funny. My very first role was in customer service, selling industrial vacuum cleaners that remove asbestos and lead. But the MD of that company gave me so much opportunity,
mm,
and I ended up being a national retail manager with field reps in every city and demonstrators, and going on telly selling vacuum cleaners on television, and that gave me media training. I had to present to David Jones, Meyer Grace Brothers, Billy Guyot's, all the retail
mm,
stores around Australia. It taught me about demographics around Australia. It taught me how to be independent and, get a car at the age of 22 in Perth and navigate my way to a Myer store in some strange city. Yeah, so that sort of was where my career started. But I always wanted to do something with people, and I was headhunted for another role with another organisation. It was actually Fisher and Paykel, and
mm.
through going for an interview with them, and I didn't really know if I wanted to, I met the headhunter. And the headhunter, after about an hour, said, "You'd be really good working with us because you can." You
So
can
the
sell.
headhunter headhunted you from the headhunting job.
Yeah, yeah, headhunted me into headhunting,
Yeah.
and it was a big firm at the time, Morgan and Banks, and it was like I knew within the first few weeks that I'd found my elixir in what I wanted to do in my life,
Yeah.
and I wanted the first 6 months to go so fast, and I was surrounded by quite a lot of senior consultants that taught me about how to hire well, and so I was very, very fortunate, and yeah, I learned so much quickly, and I had a lot of great mentors in that organization, including Jeff Morgan, actually, because our birthdays were the same day. And just all of that led to just giving me a lot of confidence to pursue what I was doing. And always wanted my own company or my own business. And sorry about that, guys. And yeah, and when just before the Olympics, the world was changing a lot as it is
Mm,
now, as it was now. And I just said, I really could go and do this on my own and specialize in something. And that particular company was about to be sold. So it was a good time to go and do
mm.
something.
Yeah.
And I never looked back. So I haven't been employed since I was, it's 24 years ago. I've always,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
it's, yeah, it's, and, I just clients have been clients that I've known for 20 years and watched. I say puppies become top dogs. Lots of juniors that are now CEOs uh,
Mm,
and been a part of their career. I'm helping a lot of their children to find work.
yeah.
Mm,
So
mm.
there's a couple of things I've picked up from that. It's because as a teenager, you took pretty much every job. Yeah, because you mentioned it a couple of times that you took every job because you wanted to support your mother, you wanted to support your family, and you did not want to be in the same situation ever again. So that's the one thing. So it's grabbing the opportunity to work and to learn and to experience new things. Also be coachable, so be open-minded and to have a beginner's mindset, to have mentors and coaches around you to grow and learn. But probably the biggest one is when you see an opportunity, go with the flow. Just
Yeah,
go with it.
Say yes as much as possible,
Yeah.
obviously. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen that great movie, Yes, the Yes movie. I love it.
Mm.
It just
Yeah. Yeah. I also read,
great.
was it Rhonda? Oh, what's her last name? Charm, the writer. Um, she wrote a book about my year of yes. So she did a year of saying yes to every opportunity that came her way because she wanted to overcome some obstacles and some, um, some sort of inner blockages. And she had like a whole year of just saying yes to everything. It's
Yeah,
amazing. Like the
yeah,
opportunities to come to you when you say yes to things.
yeah,
It
yeah.
it
Obviously,
takes you.
you got to start to also say no.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I remember I was asked to be a packy and as a Girl Guide to be leading the brownies. I've never been a brownie, but I didn't even know how to tie a knot. I still don't.
Mm.
There I was, Miss Packy trying to anyway. And I was asked to be on my school board, actually, first student elected to Barker College, and I was only 28. I didn't know anything about boards, but my goodness, did I learn a lot through that.
Mm.
Watching how a school is operated and the politics and the challenges with what Synod thought and yeah, it was fantastic opportunity, and
Yeah.
I learned about how a board operates at a young age, which was incredible opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. And at 28, like you don't know what you don't know, so you just go like, "Yeah, I'll do it." I can do that.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's easy.
yeah,
So let's talk about HR and the boring side of HR, because there's also you've been in HR since the early 90s, I'd say.
yeah.
So that is, let's call it 30 years in HR. And I'm assuming that while a lot has changed, certain things are staying the same. And one of them is all around compliance and do the right thing and document everything and make sure that you're not overstepping boundaries. So what is your experience in the past 30 years around, um, well, first of how has HR changed in the past 30 years, or how has recruitment and executive search changed in the past 30 years?
Like everything, I think some parts have got run so much better and other parts aren't. I think the opportunity for people to not be blocked is there because of the ability to you can. In the old days, you had to formally write letters, but whereas now with internet and everything else, a really driven individual can connect to the chair of an organization. Like anyone can, we can call ScoMo, we would get through,
Mm.
put a bit of
Yeah.
focus, you can get there. And I think, I think that there's less barriers to entry for people to build the career in the way they would like it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that because of internet and email, introverts can reach out as well. In the old days, it was the noisiest that often got heard in an
Mm.
organization. And a lot of executives didn't type and they didn't massage communication and express ideas on paper. They actually just made sure they were the most vocal.
Mm.
So I think there's opportunities for everyone now, which I think is good. But some of my challenges I see is that hiring is often now been it's actually even less. I don't know. Even though people talk about hiring being important, I just see so many terrible situations, like executives getting emails that you don't tick all the boxes through our artificial intelligence. Your resume page doesn't. They automatically get a no, and they haven't even had
Mm.
a conversation with someone. And there's a fair bit of rudeness too around. Oh, if you don't hear from us, well, that's because we don't want you.
Mm.
And I know in the old days it still was hard. Recruiters never got back to people because of the sheer volume. But I think that that's a bit sad. And I also think that offshoring talent acquisition and using 21-year-old no experience talent managers who don't even know what an org chart really is, who don't know that someone that's got the skills in project management might be an outstanding leader of in a sales team. Like, there's skills that can be transferred, and sometimes because you don't tick the box and say that you've got that traditional resume, these AI, artificial intelligence systems are ruling people out, and these young guns that haven't got years of experience just rule them out as well. So I think that's the good and the bad. You just have to navigate around that rubbish. But it means that leaders in business are sometimes losing or not knowing about these Shreks, these people that are out there that could do a great job. But ageism has always been around, and it still is healthy. There is a lot of ageism. And
on the top and the bottom.
Yeah. And I think if companies don't have, and it might be a segue to me talking about our mentor platform, but I won't, but companies need to instill really solid mentoring in their organization so that their senior leaders are matched with the young guns, because then they can see who's rising stars. They need to, and at the moment, because we're so often working from home or working in a different, we're not all together being observed like the old days, where you could stand at the coffee machine and pitch your idea. If you're a young gun, you could go up to a senior person, or for example, think about these, for example, a profession like law. The young lawyers used to go on cases and hang out and sit in the lunchrooms with their senior legal counsel. Well, they're often not doing that now. They're working from home. They have to read up precedents to try and get an idea of how they'll manage a case. So there's this terrible lack of intergenerational learning. It's going. So we have to get, as organizational leaders, we have to put in systems that allow your senior executives to be connected with your less experienced talent, and also to hear the young talent's ideas. So it's that's what I see as some of the challenges. The ever challenges around litigation that's not going away, around workplace misadventures, obviously around compliance. It's just I've just witnessed currently a situation of someone that was about to be let go, but the formal warnings weren't put in place, and the executive found out before the company told them that they were about to be let go. And it's caused huge ramifications for that company. So it's so important to let staff know when they're doing a good job, obviously for motivational purposes, and when they're not. And just, I love the word fearlessness. Be not afraid to say what you're not afraid to think. But with respect, obviously. So you have, and the respect is by getting to know people, that understanding your employees and really listening to what their goals and needs are. Because I think if you understand them at a personal level, it's helpful for when you have to counsel them for bad behavior.
But that's not just for bigger organizations. That's also for entrepreneurial organizations or small businesses.
Yeah. And I've heard that's another thing they've just prompted me on, is that it's, I say there's 5 motivators to keep people employed, and one is wallets of dollars. Certainly money's important, but it's not the sole thing. It's about, I say, wow leadership. So, people will change companies for leaders. They're not going to leave over a salary. They'll leave over the loss of a great leader. So it's so important to invest in leadership and in your own leadership and how you're leading your people. It's workplace offerings. So that might be they have a day off on their birthday, or there's a gym somewhere, or there's childcare support, or There's mental health leave and unlimited holidays. That's now becoming interesting because it's known people work faster and harder when they have a few more holidays. They actually work a lot harder if they have breaks. So workplace offerings, workplace challenge. So if the role is stimulating, or do they need to be shifted around, and are they being challenged? And then the long-term workplace opportunity. So is there a stretch for them? Is there a way for them to take another role? Can they go and work in another subsidiary? Can they be mentored by someone different? So I think that we often only think it's money, but it's so much more.
It's not, no. So you mentioned money, but also the leadership, like being a good leader. So what's your definition of a good leader, being a good leader, apart from what you already said, like having genuine interest in the people that you lead and understand them and know what they want out of their career and life? But what's your definition of being a good leader?
Well, I think firstly, as I mentioned, just really getting to know a person, know them. Every great leader I've reflected on knew me at a personal level. Would ask me how. I had a brother who lost his legs under a trainer wheelchair. They would ask me, "How's your brother?" They would. So know them. Just spend a little bit of time, knowing what one of their personal goals is. So you can just ask them, how you going on your, on your horse riding, Ivanka, how's things. So it's, know them. And the next thing is stretch them. The best leaders I've ever had have been leaders that threw me on television to sell vacuum cleaners, or just pushed me. And everybody I've ever interviewed in leadership and said, tell me about your best leader, they said, I had this person knew me and pushed me, and obviously be present. What is it? Listen to ignite, not listen to shut down.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. And the other thing that I've, because you mentioned when they do good things and mention when they do not so good things. I read somewhere about performance reviews, that the whole thing of doing 6 monthly or annual performance reviews, really, it's not fair to the employee. It's not fair to the person, because when you do something wrong today, why let it sort of fester for 6 months until you get your performance review?
Oh,
so what do you see in the current situation? How does that work?
Ivanka, I say that performance reviews are like flossing your teeth. So what I mean by that is it's painful, it's awful, it's not often enjoyable, but it's so needed, right? You've got to do it because it keeps your teeth clean and it keeps your team clean. It keeps your relationship clean with your staff. And so important, but regularly. So set the rhythm, and what did you do well this month? What didn't you do so well? How could you improve? What do I need to stop doing? What do I need to start doing more often? And what do you want me to continue doing? And I think I've got an employee that's worked with me for 20 years, and our relationship today is better than it ever was. And I reflect on why, and it is exactly that. We talk regularly, and we reflect when we fail, and we talk about why we failed on something. So Google talks about bringing to every meeting, building a culture of failability, and bringing to your meeting one thing that you failed at last week, and what you learned from it. So I think that whole
I
thing,
like that.
and sharing that learning. So because so often, certainly in the 90s in the organizations sometimes I worked in, you never want to talk about failure, would you? It's all who was the hero of the day. So it's
So as senior executives in organizations, specifically in 2022, because that's what we are in now, from a HR perspective, like a people management perspective, what is it that we need to be aware of? And yes, I'm having risk management, risk leadership, compliance. I have that in the back of my mind when I ask this question. So like, what is what do you need to have clarity on, like real clarity as an executive in relation to your people?
Real clarity, I suppose. What do they say? The best thing a leader can do is get up to the top of the mountain and show your team where you're going. So is to know what's the end goal, what's the ideal clear goals. I think half the time organizations are running around and employees don't know. They don't know what that long vision is, and they're not being shown that vision so that they can participate in contributing to moving forward. So
Mm,
I think it was Cameron Herold that said the job of a leader, the job of a CEO, is to make sure you're at that top of that mountain, navigating where the organization is going,
yeah.
and sharing that journey, that pathway. What I think that's number one, and I don't think that happens as well as it could. And so
Mm,
often, employees are sitting in the dark. They really don't know the grand vision.
yeah. So speaking of vision, your time in the last 2 years has not only been around executive search, has not been around Mondo. I mean, it has been, but you've also been very involved with the Women's Resilience Center. And we talked about that quite a bit in the last few months. And I am so impressed with that project, like that charity. Please tell me more about it. Like,
It's
where is it at the moment? What are you doing with it? How's it going?
Thank
And
you
maybe do
for
a bit introduction to it.
Yeah, thank you for asking for that one. So this was a kind of been a pipe dream of mine for the last 8 years, 9 years, and it was out of when I hit rock bottom when I was 43. I thought I was traveling okay, but I wasn't, and I hit a really terrible rock bottom in my life, and it was I was functioning. I had a team of 14 staff, but I wasn't functioning. I didn't have good relationships with anyone, my staff, my families, no one. And I knew that it was actually that I needed to go and get some good help because I wasn't who I really should be. And through that experience and actually getting really good mental health support, I realized that I was carrying this baggage from what I was as a child. And it
Mm.
was so big on my back. Even my posture was different. If you saw me then to today, I actually had I was carrying it on my shoulders all the
Oh,
time.
wow.
And yoga helped as
Sitting up
well.
straight now.
Yeah, yoga helped as well. But yeah. So anyway, I discovered the power of incredible mental health, and then I realized though that there's very little you can go and get mental help, but what happens after that? Where do people go
Mm.
to continue? Because it doesn't just you just don't go and deal with your trauma and then it's over.
Yeah.
It's kind of like trauma is like a wound that you've got to really look after it, and so in America, they have what you call clubhouses, and that is one area that America they do it really well. They allow people to go after they've been, say, in rehab to these clubhouses where they can sit around and they can do meditation and yoga and 12-step programs and group therapy and just hang out with
Mm.
others who want to get well. And Australia doesn't have that sort of service at all. And I sit on a board, a private mental hospital board now that
Oh, wow.
I've been on for more than so about a long time, 8, a long time, and it
Yeah.
was through me getting good help that I wanted to give back, and I started seeing though that at least 30% of women that leave rehab go back to very unsafe places, and that there's no support ongoing for so many people, both men and
Mm.
women. And about 30% suicide out of rehab. And I don't know if you've seen A Star Is Born, but that film,
Mm.
lovely Brad Cooper and his demise. And it's because they don't know how to pick the pieces up, and
Mm.
they don't have the support, the community around them to help. So it's been a long vision that I wanted to set up a rehab post rehab is how I described it. when COVID hit, the COVID coma hit my executive search business
Mm.
big time. The
Yeah.
phones, everything stopped happening. I rang my mentor and I said, I want to bring forward this concept. And he said, I thought you were going to do that in your 60s. I said, the time is right. The time is right. So the evolution of the Women's Resilience Centre is a gift out of COVID. And
Mm.
because of that period, I was able to work really hard with connecting, and I'm quite well networked in the mental health space now because of the work I do, and I sit on the board of Lived Experience Australia. So I was able to pull together an incredible group of people to help. I built a board. We looked for a good competency, a background of skills on the board, including solid governance and risk management. And we've got an awesome board and pitch to corporates really quickly as well. So we've been selected by the ASX Charities of Choice, and just of last night, Be Kind Sydney, a big women's fund. So we're really winning that, and also we've been just gifted by the best. Some incredible people have come our way. Rebecca Gibney's launched a video for us supporting the fact that women stepping out of trauma and domestic violence, there's this terrible gap. Where do they go? How do they build a new life? Crisis care centres are there, but that only gives them 12 weeks. Where do they go after that? Who's their community? The very nature of women that have suffered domestic violence and abuse is that they have isolated. They don't know. They're often cut off from their families. One woman dies in Australia every 8 days because of domestic abuse and violence. I mean, the numbers are horrific if you think about it. And a woman will return 7 to 11 times. I witnessed this trauma as a child, and I don't ever want to see it again. And I see my brothers really, really suffered because of it. I became, as probably you can see, a bit of a work addict, but my little brothers really, really suffered. So we're partnering with men's health groups as well. And we've actually registered Men's Resilience Centre, so maybe one day that will be live. But so there's some incredible groups. There's a fantastic group in Brisbane, actually, that we've been talking to and seeking counsel. And so the Women's Resilience Centre provides resilience programs for women stepping out of domestic violence, and a mentor to mentee, survivor to thriver program, which allows women to find women that might have witnessed it as a child that are in a good place, that can offer support and help, or that can that are in a good place themselves now, but can empathize and can just be that listening ear to say, I know what you're going through.
Yeah. And that's a 12-month program, right?
Well, the programs go on and on and on, but we've got our financial resilience programs that are 12 weeks. And we're just about to launch our employment pathways programs, which are all around the basic needs of, just the basics of getting a job and looking after yourself, and building a support network around you. Our mentoring services allow women to be mentored from all over the countryside, cross-border. So women from Hobart can be matched with a woman in Broome, and gives them someone like you and I now talking, just to dial in, go into the local library, and reach out to their mentor and have a conversation with them, and just say, look, this is, and it's not advice giving, it's simply just saying, this is where I'm at, and for the mentor to be able to say, I know, this is how I handled it. May not be the best way.
Been there, done that.
So that, just that listening ear. And we know that anybody who's been through any trauma is best matched with someone that had a similar experience. I know I won't, you've just lost your dad. I lost my dad a few years ago. I really empathize with what you were going through. And I think people who've been through the same, that's similar, people who've suffered cancer are best matched with someone that's a survivor on the other side, because it gives them hope. And just to hear how they step through it is really powerful.
Yeah. So what's going through my mind? Well, first, wow. I'm so amazed by this program, and I think it's so overdue, and so needed, absolutely so needed, because I think a lot, like every 8 days a woman that is in a domestic violence scenario dies. They go back 7 to 11 times. That's insane stats, absolutely insane. So I'm still grappling with those numbers. um as people around those women, because domestic violence happens everywhere. Like, you
Mhm.
know, one dies every 8 days. Doesn't mean there's only one person dealing with domestic violence. What is the most important question we can ask our friends, our girlfriends, our sisters, our aunts, our the people around, but also men? Because I do realize that domestic violence is not just females at the receiving end. There's also females at the
Yeah,
dishing it out end. So it's
yeah.
so what's the most important question we can ask the people around us to help or to
I
support, even
Yeah,
even,
I
even though
really
we
think
don't know
it's
what's
back
happening?
to that same thing as like I talked about an interview is, are you safe? Are you okay? And if you ever weren't, what, let's set up give me a code
Hmm.
that tells me you're not in a
Hmm.
safe place. If it's just sending me, a little emoji, whatever it be, a daisy, but
Yeah,
if that's all you can do, send me the daisy and I'll be there,
yeah.
so, or call the police, give me a plan, so
Hmm.
it's really important to ask people that. And
Are there any triggers, any things we should be looking out for?
yes, the big one is control. So um, if you see friends being cut off, like if they're not allowed to come anymore because or their wife or their husband doesn't want them to join something, that when you hear that the partner is dictating their freedom,
Hmm.
that's a really big sign to look for. Um, Obviously, there's yeah, there's the physical as well. If someone keeps showing presenting with bruises, that's never a good thing either. And um, just look deeply into your friends and family's eyes, because your eyes don't lie, do they?
Mm.
you know so just always being open and non-judgy too, because a lot of people don't reach people because they think they're going to judge them. So
Mm.
um, and so I just believe, the more vulnerable you are as a human, the more the more connected you are with others. So you just share your own mistakes, share your own challenges, and you'll find that then people will feel safe to share them with you.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good one. And how can people help the Women's Resilience Center? Are you looking for mentors?
Oh
Are you
wow!
looking for money? Are
Oh
you like
wow!
how can people help?
Yeah, we're looking for all sorts of things. So you can just, if you've got time, please go to www.womensresiliencecentre. So it's a pretty easy name, womensresiliencecentre.com.au. Please jump in and have a look. There's a way you can volunteer. We've got an awesome group of volunteers, really top level people. We've got the head of World Vision, that was head of fundraising, is working with us at fundraising level. We've got incredible people. We've got a CEO who's donating his time pro bono. We're looking for a CFO that just wants to give a couple of hours. We've got some fantastic finance people on our board, but we're always looking for social media people who want to help us with socials. And also, if you just want to jump on and like or share anything of ours on LinkedIn and Insta and Facebook. And obviously, cash is king. If anyone has the desire to
Show me the money.
donate a couple of dollars, that
Yeah.
would be great. But you join our community. We've got a WhatsApp group. If you want to join that, we give you updates as to all the beautiful, wonderful things that are happening. And yeah, we're all about encircling people and providing and giving back. So we have wellbeing experts offering free yoga classes to the Zoomies and the WhatsApp people. So just know that there's plenty of abundance if you get connected to the Women's Resilience Centre. And yeah, appreciate it. And we've got amazing guys helping us, because some of them were guys that witnessed domestic violence as a child. Some of them have personally witnessed it themselves. And we've got great guys. As I said, I'm really doing this for my brothers because of what they experienced. They both, one sadly lost his life last year, and his life was just a complete chaos. And the other one too, both chose never to marry, both are daily drug users. And it's all because of that terrible period as children. And hurt people hurt people hurt. Then and it just keeps going on from generation to generation.
Yeah. Well, it goes to show full circle. I mean, like you say, your childhood was quite traumatic. It had an effect on you. It had an effect on your brothers. You had an interim period where you used that experience, not knowingly, but you used that experience to become an absolute superpower woman, business owner of executive search, so that you can create the time and resources to set up and help this Women's Resilience Center, to ensure that other children don't fall victim to what's happening to the adults in their life. Because not everybody has the strength and the resilience to use that experience for good. And you say you did hit rock bottom, so there's ups and downs, but not everybody is as strong and resilient as you. And there's a lot of people that need a lot more help. And if you can stop it happening in the first place, it's a lot happier and a much better world out there for kids and grown-ups.
So important for our generation ahead and the impact that's going to have. There's some beautiful services out there at the moment. We're linked to all the community services now. And just last night, I discovered there's online story reading, so that if you've got, a single mum and she's flat out busy, or a single dad, and he's got kids and he's got to feed kids and, organize everything. Well, you can at least, there's a regular person that reads stories to people. And I think that's beautiful, because some parents don't read stories, and either they're just time poor or they're vacant. So there's some beautiful, beautiful services to help this generation moving ahead. But yeah, thank you for Ivanka for asking me to share about the Women's Resilience Centre, because that's just that's a bonus for me. So thank you.
I like bonuses.
Oh, I love bonuses. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It was amazing as always. If people want to reach out to you, Simone Allan on LinkedIn is probably the easiest. You're pretty easy to find. Your company name is Mondo, Mondo. So Mondo Search. You're based in Sydney. So that should be pretty easy. I will put some links in the description after we finish. So I'll put a link to Mondo Research, Mondo Search, but also to the Women's Resilience Center, so that people can reach out to you.
Thank you. And I've loved knowing you for a long time through Entrepreneurs Organization. You're an incredible entrepreneur. And Ivanka, for you to reach out and ask for me to do this, I'm very, very grateful.
You are most welcome. Back at you. Have a wonderful, wonderful Thursday. We're closing off the live now. Don't run off, so we can have an offline chat.